This piece at Nation of Change, more about the inequality that is rampant globally, but certainly here in the United States. The recent Oxfam report on global wealth inequality, which was given to the participants at the Davos Economic Forum, had all kinds of facts and statistics that may or may not be of interest to anyone other than Oxfam. I found it interesting, though, because these are the seeds of revolution. These are the seeds in other countries of violent revolution. Our culture, our society has been so conditioned with television and with fear that and you know, maybe it's a good thing in a manner of speaking, that there would never be violent revolution here. It's just not going to happen in the United States of America. It will never happen. I don't care what these half-wits who run around in the camo and, you know, the Duck Dynasty geeks and people like that. None of that is really important. There will never be violent revolution here. We've had 2 of them, and we're not going to have any more. So, and one of the reasons is because every American understands we have been conditioned into seeing every single U.S. soldier, even if he's a rapist or a killer, as a hero. That's the word that is interchangeable with soldiers, heroes. Notice that? So we're not going to have violent revolution here for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that one. But the more and more people come to understand how awful this inequality is, how 99% of us are being ground into the dirt, and that the 1% is just bringing in truckload after truckload of dirt to do the grinding. Once we get that, it may cause the kind of revolution that a Gandhi would lead, or a Martin Luther King Jr. would lead, although Dr. King was drifting the other direction. So my attitude here is that the more we talk about inequality, the better a chance we're going to have to do something about it. And obviously, if we do respond, it's going to be a nonviolent response. All these paranoid right-wingers, these right-wing conservatives and the Christian freaks and so on and so forth that talk about, oh, you know, arming yourself because the liberals are going to come at you. I mean, what a bunch of cowardly little bastards, aren't they? I have never seen a collection of cowards like Beck and Hannity and Limbaugh and the rest of these thugs. So what Oxfam put together, some stats. The 30 richest Americans own as much as half of the U.S. population. We talked about that. The 30 richest Americans own as much so-called wealth, although, you know, what's wealth? I think what they mean is money or power, as 150 million Americans. 30 people as much as 150 million people. Is that right? Is there anything wrong with that? Huh? The Oxfam report tells us that 85 individuals own as much as half the world, as much as 3 billion people. Anything wrong with that? 85 people? I know those people work their asses off from dawn to dusk, right? Working in the mines and the fields and the factories and saved all their money. And now these 85 people own as much as 3 billion of the rest of us, right? Isn't that how it happened? Huh? All fair and square by the sweat of their brow? Here's some more. In the United States, the richest 30 individuals own about $792 billion worth of whatever they're using as a measurement here, I guess dollars, while the bottom half of Americans own 1.1% of our country's wealth. That's also about $792 billion. So 30 people owning as much as 157 million people. Anything wrong with that? Here's another stat that I missed the first time around. The bottom half of America owns a smaller percentage of national wealth than almost any other country or on any other continent. What that means is the 1.1% of America's wealth that's owned by the poorest half is less than what the poorest half owns in Asia, Africa, Latin America, India, the United Kingdom, and China. Let me give you the numbers. In the United States, the bottom half of all of us, the 157 million, we own 1.1% of America's wealth. In Asia, the bottom half owns 1.3% of the region's wealth. In Africa, the bottom half owns 2.1% of that nation or that continent's wealth. In Latin America, the bottom half in Latin America, South America, Central America owns 3.2%. Now remember what we own, 1.1. In India, the bottom half of the population owns 4.5%. We own 1.1. In the United Kingdom, the bottom half owns 7.6% of that nation's wealth. And in China, the bottom half owns 9.6% of the nation's wealth. Here in the United States, the bottom half owns 1.1%. Is that okay? Are we okay with that? Then there's the issue of mobility. How do you, you know, when some of us of a certain age were kids, we were working, a lot of us were considered working poor. But the way out was through education and a job. You get a good job. Even if you didn't decide to go on to college, if you got a good factory job, you could make as much money as you could possibly want, unless you were crazy. You could buy a house. This is with one adult working in a family. Buy a house, buy a car, buy a television. See, it's all about buy. Go in with some of your friends and buy a house at the lake. Save for at least 2 of your 4 children to go to college, the 2 that wanted to. The other 2 were going to go to work in a factory someplace. So it was manageable, and the upward mobility was there. If your parents were working poor, you could become working class, and your kids could become middle class, and their kids could become upper middle class. That's how it worked. Mobility. In North America, the bottom half, that's us, you and me, has less chance to move up than in any other region of the world. Does that matter? Conservatives argue that individuals should be able to improve their economic positions with personal initiative and hard work. But economic mobility is lower in the United States than in most developed countries, and lower than in many so-called not developed countries. Is that okay? Here in the land of the free and the home of the capitalists, is that okay? The results of a Credit Suisse wealth mobility simulation are given in this global wealth data book. Here's what it says. North America is less mobile than other regions, especially over longer time horizons. Europe is next, followed by the middle group of Asia, the Asian Pacific area, Latin America, and Africa. The most mobile regions are China and India. So if you live in China or India, you have a better chance of moving up through the economic ranks than if you live here in North America. Not just the United States, but North America, Canada, United States. I guess that includes Mexico too, doesn't it? Latin America is South America, right? Okay. Isn't it? Yeah, Mexico is part of North America. And then another, well, there's a couple more here that I just found fascinating. And since I found them fascinating, you're going to have to suffer through while I tell you why I found them fascinating, which I'll get back to when we come back after this break. These are the statistics put together by Oxfam and presented to the Davos Global Economic Forum as a means of saying, you had better pay attention to this. You had better read what we've put down here and figure out whether or not you are going to use this to your advantage or it's going to kill you. It's your call.